Adrian's manager reveals a big update regarding the Aston deal. Is Max Verstappen starting to outperform the Red Bull car, and McLaren is ready to challenge for the championship? Do consider subscribing to the channel. Let's get straight into the latest F1 news. Haas team boss Ayao Komatsu has shared his thoughts on hiring the team's first rookie since Mick Schumacher and Nikita Mazepin. For 2025, Haas has hired rookie driver and current Formula 2 racer Oliver Bearman, the team's first rookie hiring since partnering Mick Schumacher and Nikita Mazepin in 2021. Haas ran the inexperienced pairing of Schumacher and Mazepin throughout 2021, a pairing which ultimately yielded little reward as the VF21 proved uncompetitive and the two drivers struggled for consistency. Mazepin to a greater extent than Schumacher, who was coming off the back of his Formula 2 championship win. Schumacher would ultimately hold on to his seat for 2022 before being dropped, as then Haas team boss Günther Steiner opted to replace the two drivers with more experience. Kevin Magnussen got the call-up to replace Mazepin in early 22, while Nico Hülkenberg was drafted in to replace Schumacher after that season. Running the experienced duo for 2 seasons, the partnering of the veteran Esteban Ocon with rookie driver Ollie Bearman is the first Komatsu-chosen driver lineup at Haas, and the team boss offered some insight into whether there has been a change of heart within Haas about hiring rookies. Every situation is different, he told Germany's Automotor on Sport. You have to offer drivers an environment in which they can deliver performance. You can't put a Nikita Mazepin and an Ollie Bearman into the same category. This is nonsense. I see clear potential with Ollie. Bearman made waves earlier this year by finishing 7th on his last-minute substitution race for Ferrari, coping with the pressure of a last-minute call-up from Ferrari to replace the ill Carlos Sainz as the Spaniard had his appendix removed. But the British driver, part of Ferrari's driver academy, has struggled in Formula 2 this year. He occupies 15th in the standings, with a sole victory at the Red Bull Ring, the highlight of a very subdued campaign in which he was expected to contend for the title with Prema. Komatsu is in no way concerned by his F2 form, saying the evidence of what's been seen from Bearman's F1 outings, including several FP1 and test runs with Haas, showcases his talent to a greater extent. I have no explanation for it because I don't know enough about Formula 2 and the strengths and weaknesses of the Prema team, he said. For me, the data from his FP1 stints in our car has a much greater value. We have all the information we need. Speaking after being hired for the Haas team, Bearman said he's very excited to begin working with Komatsu in earnest next year. I've always got along really well with him, he said. When the news came that he was going to become the team principal, I was of course very happy because he works really hard, and you can see that he's had a really positive impact on the team. So I'm really excited to start working more closely with him because just doing free practice sessions, it's not really that much. But yeah, I'm really excited to get going, and he's been really influential in getting me into this position. As for Mazepin, the Russian driver is attempting to find a way back into F1 and has been rumored as a possibility for the Alpine seat that remains unconfirmed, but speculation has suggested Jack Doohan is all but certain for Mazepin having close ties with the new Alpine F1 team boss Oliver Oakes. Mazepin has been out of F1 since Haas dropped him following the beginning of Russia's military action in Ukraine, and sanctions were placed upon Russian companies, such as Mazepin's father's company Uralkali, by the EU and the UK. Several Russian drivers, including former F1 driver Daniil Kvyat, have been able to return to motorsport action under neutral flags, having signed the FIA's document to declare adherence to the governing body's principles of peace and political neutrality. Mazepin has not yet raced in an FIA-sanctioned series since leaving F1. With Red Bull's dominance seemingly at an end, the question now is whether Max Verstappen is flattering the RB20's performance. After winning all but one race in 2023, the Milton Keynes-based squad is in the unfamiliar situation of being hunted down by McLaren, as the Woking-based squad appears to have a quicker car than Red Bull. Having won 4 of the first 6 races and fought for victory in the other 2, the first quarter of the 2024 season appeared to be a continuation of last year's dominance for Red Bull. But in the second quarter of the season, and through until the Belgian Grand Prix, the McLaren drivers have stepped forward, as has the Mercedes duo of Lewis Hamilton and George Russell. The run into the summer break saw 4 consecutive races occur without a Verstappen victory, for the first time since 2020. Red Bull's dominance thus seems to be an end, and given the performance gap between Verstappen and Sergio Perez, to the point where the Mexican has had to fend off the possibility of a mid-season replacement, it's brought up the question of just how good the RB20 really is. After all, if the car were to be judged on Perez's performances, the RB20 would appear to be an upper midfield car. In the hands of Verstappen, it's still a car capable of victories and perhaps the titles. So, which is the more accurate assessment of the car? Addressing that very question was Red Bull's chief engineer Paul Monahan with Planet F1. Come asking of the British engineer during a joint interview as to whether the reigning world champion is outperforming the level of the car, or if that would be doing a disservice to the effort being put in at the factory on the RB20. The work that goes into the car is unwavering, Monahan stated. I think, if we look back at last year, then if that's about we set ourselves to have a modest lap time advantage everywhere and carry it through, then yeah, it's getting a little bit tighter, and Max might well reflect upon that. But no, I don't think Max is flattering it. If Max is pushing himself harder to get a race result because others are closer, that's the nature of competition, isn't it? As for Perez, who has been given the vote of confidence by the team to continue on into the second half of the season and see how he fares at tracks he's known to be a strong performer at, such as Singapore's Marina Bay or Azerbaijan's Baku City circuit, Monahan said the Mexican driver is well able to pilot the RB20 just as capably. I think Checo, it was lovely to see him go so well yesterday, qualifying in Belgium. He was on scrubbed tires and set a time wallop right up there in Q3, he said. Wonderful for him and wonderful for the team. I saw yesterday in the debrief the driver that was settled in himself, and it's good for him. There are many detractors, and the only person who could rescue it was him, and he did. I thought it took a great deal of courage to go out in a wet qualifying and do that. So hopefully he takes great solace from that and maintains it. He can drive it too, don't worry. None of them are slouches when they reach this level. Verstappen's use of the team radio in Hungary resulted in some raised eyebrows as he unequivocally criticized the team's handling of his strategy, which resulted in him being shuffled back to 5th place after his final stop. But the Dutch driver's blunt nature is of no concern for Monahan, who said such comments, regardless of the nature and tone of how they're presented, are merely indicative of the standards he expects from his squad and from himself. I think Max sets a pretty high bar for himself as well as us, Monahan said. Last year and at races this year, he's reached a level the others have thus far yet to match. And as such, if he feels that we are not attaining his high bar, we can expect those kinds of comments. I don't really have a strong view on how he presents it to us. Amid reports that Adrian Newey is heading to Aston Martin after his Red Bull exit, his manager Eddie Jordan truthfully does not know the next step which Newey will take for F1 2025. One of the greatest F1 designers of all time, with 25 championships won with his designs, Newey will depart Red Bull early in 2025. His association with the Formula One team already over as he spends the rest of his tenure working on the RB17 hypercar. Initially, Newey had been strongly linked with a move to Ferrari, the team which tried to sign him 3 times before, though recently it has been claimed that he will join Aston Martin in a deal worth $100 million. During the process of Newey's Red Bull exit, it emerged that Jordan was in fact the 65-year-old's manager. So during the Formula for Success podcast, Jordan's co-presenter, the 13-time F1 race winner David Coulthard, went digging for a hint on what comes next for Newey. Referencing rumors over whether Newey will sail off around the world or whether he will be popping up at a team, Coulthard added, "You can't share a confidence, of course, but you can guide us all as to whether if he does something, it's likely to be in Italy, or is it still in the UK? At least give us that hint." Jordan responded, "Well, if it's in Italy, it'll be on his boat." Before Coulthard could respond to that, Jordan continued, "Don't be asking me stupid questions, will you?" "They're not stupid answers," Coulthard came back with. From there, Jordan looked to clarify that he, truthfully, does not know what Newey intends to do beyond his time at Red Bull, saying he would tell Coulthard directly if he did, Coulthard having worked with Newey during their spells at Williams, McLaren, and Red Bull. "Even if I did know, first of all I would tell you," Jordan told Coulthard. Anyone who knows Adrian for a very long time, and there have been 3 occasions when Coulthard worked with him, whether it was Williams and McLaren and then Red Bull, so he knows him probably as good, if not better, than anybody else. Adrian is a super talented person, not many more intellectual brains anywhere in the world, and certainly in Formula One. The guy is iconic. and it'll be his choice. He will decide, I presume, do I take some time out because I've been doing this every year since I was in university? I knew him first when he was in Leighton House, and that was in the mid-'80s, and that's how we knew him. I offered him a job and he took it, but his wife then gave me the check back. Hadn't been signed, by the way. But truthfully, I have no idea, and I just want to wish him well, because wherever he goes, it would be a massive boost for that team. That's one thing I will say. Mitch Evans, a GP3 champion and multi-time Formula E runner-up, slammed the politics which he believes interfere with the Formula One driver market. The New Zealander became GP3 champion back in 2013 as he strived to work his way up the ranks, but with the F1 door remaining shut after a best finish of P4 in the GP2 standings, Evans transitioned into Formula E with Jaguar, where he has since finished runner-up in the championship twice, most recently in the 2023-24 campaign. Evans would reflect on his struggles to find a route into Formula One, claiming a freak situation is needed for a driver to get their chance, as he pointed to the situations of Nick de Vries, Oliver Bearman, and Sergio Perez in his outcry against the politics he sees in the Formula One. De Vries, a long-standing reserve driver in F1, got his chance at AlphaTauri after impressing in a one-off Williams outing in the place of the ill Alex Albon at Monza in 2022, but was fired mid-season the following year. Ferrari-backed Bearman, meanwhile, who debuted with the team at the 2024 Saudi Arabian GP after Carlos Sainz underwent appendix surgery, will step up from F2 to a Haas F1 seat in 2025, while Perez has hung on to his Red Bull seat after speculation that he could be replaced over the summer break. The hard thing was getting a seat for F1 tests, Evans told TotalMotorsport.com. I've done sim days, been quicker than race drivers and been competitive, but it brings nothing. You just need a freak situation to happen. Even trying to get reserve seats, there are guys paying to be reserve drivers. It's ridiculous. When you are really in the fickle of it and know how it works, the sport is demented. Look at Nick de Vries. He was not going to get a chance at all for an F1 seat. Then he got a free chance when Alex Albon got sick. Did a good job, and all of a sudden he's the best thing since sliced bread. He's the same driver he's been for all the other years. Look at Oliver Bearman. These are good guys, but the week before the 2024 Saudi Arabian GP, he qualified 18th in Bahrain. Then he gets a chance at Ferrari. He did a decent job, but was in one of the best cars. It's all about perception, but teams don't want to take risks on drivers anymore. The only way you can get there is by getting a crazy opportunity in a race seat. They are never going to take a punt on you for the sake of it. You can have all the data, the CV from junior categories, sim days, but still not get an opportunity. It's a weird sport. It doesn't make any sense. A lot of guys that get opportunities bring money. Look at Sergio Perez. He still brings money to Red Bull, and you can't compete against that. He's not a bad driver, but you are competing against that. It's hard to go up against a driver on pure merit. That's the way it is. A lot of F1 guys who come to Formula E, they get a massive reality check. It's a shame de Vries didn't work out. I don't know if that put a bad light on us. It's a strange sport, strange world, but it's not all based on pure performance. It's not like tennis, golf, football, where you can share your skills at any moment. Teams go for safer choices or people with their own pool. Bearman's Haas F1 promotion also drew some skepticism from Sky F1 pundit Naomi Schiff, who pointed to the Brits' F2 results. It has been something of a nightmare campaign for the 19-year-old, who has scored just 34 points and is P15 in the standings, with his numerous Haas FP1 outings, plus that Ferrari debut, providing more weight for Haas's decision to sign him for F1 2025. I think he was incredibly lucky, Schiff told Sky F1 in reference to that chance to debut with Ferrari in Saudi Arabia. Obviously, he had shown potential, and that's the reason why he was standing in for Ferrari. But he was incredibly lucky to get that opportunity in Saudi to really display what he's able to do, because based off of his results in Formula 2 this year, he would probably not have been a candidate for the seat. Now he's got 6 free practices. He obviously did one last year with Haas as well. He's got 6 practices this year. So I think he's going to come into Formula 1 pretty prepared. I mean, not a lot of drivers get to come in and have lived in the real action on many occasions. McLaren Racing CEO Zak Brown has claimed all departments of its Formula One team are world championship material after years of investment. Brown took the helm at the Woking-based outfit during a time of financial instability last decade, and, despite further hardships which included rumors of a takeover by Audi, the Americans' commercial noose has seen McLaren become one of the most heavily backed teams on the grid by sponsors. With that income secured, a number of infrastructural improvements were made at the McLaren Technology Center, alongside changes to the management structure and team personnel. Now that the incomings have settled, Brown believes all facets are firing towards championship success. "It's all coming together," Brown told Autosport in an exclusive interview at the Belgian Grand Prix. "We've got our great investment from our shareholders and our sponsors. We've got great drivers. We've got a great technical team, and the entire leadership team. The technical team need the resources, the fan base, the corporate partner base in order to be able to do what they're doing." Andrea uses the term world championship material, and I'd like to think all departments which feed into performance, either directly or indirectly, are all world championship material. Brown's belief can be backed up by on-track performance as the team hones in on Red Bull's position at the top of the constructors' standings, thanks to Lando Norris and Oscar Piastri both adding to consistent podium finishes with their maiden F1 victories. For Norris in particular, the win was a long time coming after numerous near misses, not least the 2021 Russian Grand Prix and failures in turning pole position into triumph. Since his win in Miami, Norris's view of podium finishes seems to have changed from delight to frustration when he fails to take to the top step. And asked what has changed in his driver, Brown said, "I think the aspiration to win has only gotten greater. He's always been a great driver. The only thing that's taken so long is us giving him a car to be capable of winning in. Now he's running at the front on a regular basis, so I think expectations are clearly higher. We know we're coming into these races here most recently with the chance to win every weekend. So with that comes some more excitement, but higher expectations and more pressure, but we're all enjoying it." On whether the team's own mindset had shifted in light of victories being achieved, Brown added, "It has, only because of how many times we've finished second and now that we've tasted winning. Second certainly still is an awesome result. We always celebrate every podium because it's a huge accomplishment. We're not taking it for granted. But we want to win, and we know we're in a position to win. So, when we finish second as we have this year, by a second or a half a second, as we did in Imola and so close in Canada, that feels a little bit flatter of a podium than a few years ago when we were just starting to get back on the podium." McLaren's strategic calls have come into question in recent races, an issue highlighted by its perceived operational shortcomings that triggered the Norris and Piastri team order trouble at the Hungarian Grand Prix, a saga that overshadowed a first-team 1-2 finish in 3 years. Attributing the missteps to the squad's newfound position at the front of the pack, Brown explained, "I think some of the mistakes that we've made this year have been from the youthfulness of a team that's not run at the front as regularly as we are now. Silverstone we didn't optimize. Hungary we got there at the end, but not without some excitement. So I think it's just going to take a little bit more time." I think Toto Wolff, Mercedes team principal, eloquently said sometimes you don't learn this stuff until you're in the heat of the battle. Now that we're in the heat of the battle, we're learning some stuff as we go along, but that's okay. What I always tell the team is, mistakes are okay. Just learn from them and don't make the same one twice. That makes you smarter next time around. So I'm quite relaxed with the learnings that we've gone through this year. Thanks for watching. I'll see you around.